Hey gang, welcome to this week's episode of Fantasy Sports Alliance Periscope broadcast. This is going to be episode 7 for us. We're going to be bringing you Week 15's updates around the NFL and Fantasy Sports Alliance. We have a lot of playoff news from both of those areas. We're going to get right into it this week. This week, the great Charles Woodson announced that this would be his last season after 18 years of playing in the NFL. Former Heisman Trophy winner will leave the NFL with a resume that includes a Super Bowl title, 8 Pro Bowl appearances, 11 interceptions returned for touchdowns, which ties him for second of all time, 65 total interceptions, which ties him fifth for all time, and I would think that he'd be a first-time Hall of Fame ballot winner. In more somber news this week, San Diego Chargers made her play their last game in Qualcomm Stadium, but Danny Woodhead made sure it was one to remember. He touched the ball 14 times with a total of 60 yards, but had 4 touchdowns. Chargers players stayed long after the game, shaking hands, taking pictures, and signing autographs. It is rumored that the Chargers will be going back to Los Angeles, a place that they only played at for 1 year, which was also their very first year, and it was the first year of the American Football League back in 1960. So we're going to take a step back to Thursday Night Football. I'm not really sure what's the point behind the NFL Color Rush uniforms that they're doing on Thursday Night Football. I kind of got mixed feelings about them. Some of the uniforms I like, some of them I don't like. But I felt like this past Thursday between Tampa Bay and St. Louis, we were watching ketchup and mustard bottles on the field. If you want to see more of what I mean, check out the post-production of this show that get posted on Facebook and YouTube tomorrow. So we're going to hand out a lot of candy this week to NFL players. 2 weeks ago, we mentioned former Tampa Bay quarterback Doug Williams was getting inducted into the team's Ring of Honor. This week, we're recognizing current rookie quarterback Jameis Winston. Winston now owns the record for the most passing touchdown by a Buccaneers rookie quarterback. Most impressive name on that list as he surpassed Doug Williams. So congratulations to Mr. Winston. Shifting gears a little bit over to the AFC, wide receiver Amari Cooper is the first Raider with 1,000 receiving yards since Randy Moss did it in 2005. So congratulations to Mr. Cooper. Staying in Oakland, Oakland's kicker, Raiders kicker, Sebastian Janikowski played in his 250th game over the weekend, all of them with the Raiders. And the last piece of candy goes to Eli Manning, who moved to 8th on the all-time passing touchdown list. This puts him tied with Warren Moon. Of course, we all know about his brother Peyton is number 1 on the list, but did you know that the two were separated by 246 touchdowns? Peyton has been in the league 6 years longer, so if you do the quick math, that means for the next 6 years, Eli would have to average 41 passing touchdowns a year to catch up with his brother. So before we get into the FSA playoffs, which I know is what you're all here for, let's talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs. So the Steelers went from just being in the hunt on the AFC side of the ladder to actually holding a wild card spot for the moment after the play of Big Ben and Antonio Brown this past week. Ben went 40 for 55 against the Broncos on Sunday, with 16 of those passes being caught by Brown for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's see. Last week we mentioned the Patriots had won the AFC East. This week they earned a first-round bye. So we just mentioned the Steelers have a wild card spot for the moment. Also in the AFC North, the Bengals have secured a playoff spot. On the NFC side of the ladder, the Green Bay Packers are playoff bound for a franchise record 7th consecutive year. And in the NFC West, Arizona Cardinals have wrapped up the division while Seattle Seahawks have earned a playoff spot. That leaves just 3 teams left. The AFC South. 3 divisions left: AFC South, AFC West, and NFC East division. Still waiting to claim a division winner or concrete any playoff teams from those 3 divisions. So we're going to talk about some MVP news now. There's been a lot of talk the last couple of weeks about who deserves the MVP. A lot of people are saying it should be Tom Brady or Cam Newton. Even Russell Wilson's names kind of got thrown in the mix the last couple of weeks. And if you run the season stats side by side for Brady and Newton, one could make a good argument for Brady as he leads more categories than Cam does. However, when you see the stats from this past week, Cam Newton was the first player in NFL history to pass for 300 yards, rush for 100 yards, and throw for 5 touchdowns in the same game. It's hard to argue against that. And in my opinion, MVP is supposed to be the most valuable player on the team. And I could be wrong, but the Carolina Panthers being 14-0 versus the Patriots 12-2 makes me give my nod towards Cam Newton. So, and there's no great story behind this next mention, other than I found it interesting the other day whenever I saw the Ravens wearing the gold pants over the weekend. I'm pretty sure this was the first time that they had worn the gold pants. Definitely different, but I definitely didn't hate it either. Other uniforms I don't hate. The NFL, I think, has done an amazing job this year with the marketing and advertising for the 50th Super Bowl coming up this year. Between changing the NFL logo to all gold and painting the 50-yard lines gold on each one of the stadiums, the Pro Bowl uniforms have stepped up and have got gold in them. Once again, if you can see the post-production of the show, you get to see what I'm talking about. So now we're going to talk about the FSA playoffs. So this past week on the left side of the bracket, the Mid-Atlantic and Great Lake Regional champs faced off against each other, with the Pandas beating the Crusaders 121-110. That ended the Crusaders' bid for two straight bowl appearances. And then on the other side of the bracket, the Southwest and Pac-South regional champions battled, with the Hookers defeating Carolina Nation 112-110. So the Hookers and the Pandas will now face off against each other in Fanatic Real Bowl 16. This is the Hookers' second straight bowl appearance, and they've only been in the Alliance for 2 years. This being the Pandas' rookie season, this will be the first bowl appearance. Good luck to both teams. So we're going to take a look at the rosters for both bowl teams. They share two of the same players, running back Matt Forte and wide receiver Antonio Brown. And depending on who the teams start, there could be a push at those two positions. So who you don't see on their rosters is Odell Beckham Jr. And I bring this up because I wanted to talk about the shenanigans that went down this past weekend when the Giants played the Panthers. It amazes me, after all the personal foul penalties both Beckham and Carolina cornerback Josh Newman earned, that neither was ejected from the game. However, the refs and the coaches continued to allow to both stick with their antics. Beckham was later suspended for a game by the league, which he tried to get reversed. The answer to that came out earlier today, about 3 or 4 hours ago, saying that they will uphold the suspension, so he will not be playing against the Vikings this weekend. And then also this morning, there was an announcement made that Nolan was fined $26,000. So both of them appealed. Of course, we already know the results of Beckham. He lost his appeal. But my question is, why? So they both know they were wrong during the game. Both lucky they were allowed to finish the game. So what kind of message, I'm thinking, does this send to kids who idolize both these players? If you haven't had a chance to watch the game footage, take time to view it. From a sportsmanship standpoint, it's very disturbing. So rather than end the news this week on a downer like that, we have one last piece of information from the NFL. Former NFL player Joe Anderson was signed by the Jets to the practice squad this week, following him holding a sign outside Houston's Texas Stadium that read, "Not homeless, but starving for success. We'll run routes for food." Me personally, I'm definitely rooting for this underdog. I'd like to say congratulations to Mr. Anderson for getting back into the league. Everybody have a good night. Merry Christmas.